flamingo? Dude, that is righteous. Is that your date for tonight? She's cute. That's your +1. It's awesome. Yeah. We're gonna get rolling in a second. We're waiting for our last participant. Want to slide over? I'm not good. I'm keeping this off.
I think you already did it with a seagull.
Well, it's not a seagull, it's a flamingo. Well, good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing? All right. This is Events DC Live. I think it's our 3rd edition, so who knows what's going to happen. I'm cautioning you now, the women and children and flamingos, to leave. Hey, Kendra. Hi, welcome. My name is Max Brown. I am chair of Events DC. We're the District of Columbia's official sports, entertainment, and convention authority. Thank you for being here.
I'm Greg Odell, the president and CEO of NCC. Thank you all for being here.
I'm Brandon. I go by Seagull online. I play video games.
Hey! I pay Brandon's salary. I'm Andy, owner of NRG Esports.
So we're just going to have a dialogue. We got 2 rock stars, as you can tell. We just had an amazing panel where we talked about how we're going to bring these rock stars to Washington, D.C. So we have cue cards and notes. Max and I never use them. We'll go off the cuff as we normally do. And Max will at some point probably embarrass me, but that's okay because he likes to do that as chair, but he makes me earn every penny.
I was sort of ashamed of myself. There were 2 panels across the street today. Vice President Biden on an important, curing cancer. At the same time, the Game of Thrones showrunners, David Benioff. It was amazing, and so you could guess where I went. Let me segue back to Washington, D.C. real quick, and we'll stop with the sort of commercial. When we all went to Washington when we were kids, it was like a government town, right? We went to Smithsonian, we saw, the Constitution. It's totally different. Trust me, it's totally different. It's not your grandparents' capital anymore. We have some of the best restaurants, amazing neighborhoods, and now we have a partnership with NRG around esports. The first city in the country, if not the world, to have the city kind of get their brand out there and connect up with our partners. So we're really, really excited about that. Greg.
So let's jump in. So Andy, it takes 2 to make the partnership. So what is it that you saw in Washington, D.C.? We're happy, obviously, but let us know why you did it with us.
This is really big for us, and I think for esports in general. If you saw by all the press we got, literally global press, and I got dozens and dozens of calls from folks who basically said, "How'd you do that?" This is pretty amazing. So I think for us, it's a real stamp of legitimacy on NRG as an org, but also on esports to say that you've got a forward-thinking group like yourselves, an amazing city like Washington D.C., saying, "Hey, this is a place, this is an activity, this is a game, this is a way that people want to spend their time, and they want to see guys like this play it live, and they want to learn, and they want to have fun, and their community is being validated that this is a real thing now."
Cool. So speaking of guys like this, I know we talked earlier, you're from the other Washington. So what do you think about Washington, D.C. and obviously now being a sponsor?
It's just so interesting. You don't really expect it at first. And it was just incredible to hear.
So we have Twitter questions that came in, of course. So one question is, what color is Harblue's hair? Can you describe what that smells like?
Dear God, man.
As of now, we have no official relationship with Harblu, but everybody who's in the scene knows that he's one of his friends, and they play together a lot. But we would love to have him on our team. It'd be great.
So I'm going to ask a dumb question. Maybe I'm supposed to know that, but how did you get the nickname Seagull in the first place?
It started when I was a kid. For most players, I think you sort of pick a name when you're a kid, and then you sort of keep it. And if it's a super dumb name, you change it. But it's mine was okay, so I kept it. It's just, I think for me, it had to do with the random video game I was playing, but for others, it could just be anything really.
Cool. You don't fly.
I wish.
So you have, so Andy's here. You work with Andy, right? Does he pay your bill? Does he pay you?
Yes, he does.
Okay, so everybody would love to ask their boss a real honest question, but they're afraid to, right? Ask Andy something, put him on the spot and just ask him something that you've been meaning to ask him and you want to know the answer to.
Do you regularly shave your head?
I do. And let's be straight here. I actually work for Seagull. I mean, that's usually the way it works, right?
Exactly.
So,
right.
Whatever Brandon wants, we're here.
Brandon gets, exactly.
So on a more serious note, we talked a little bit about this, but I want to dive a little bit deeper now that Brandon's here. So Andy, you obviously now have touched different professional sports. We talked about Sacramento Kings a little bit, and obviously now esports. So can you tell everybody what are the similarities or differences, and maybe potentially what do you think you can do differently that you couldn't do with the mature NBA franchise?
There's a lot of similarities. But we're sort of, as we talked about in there, getting into this next era where we can actually have cities and kids who grow up in Sacramento, they bleed purple. I don't know if you all follow the NBA or the Kings, but we haven't sniffed the playoffs in a decade, and we sell out every game, and they love it. And they come to the airport when we sign a new player, and they're all at a draft party, and it is part of the fabric of the community, and it's what you remember when you grow up in Sacramento, whether you love basketball or not. So we would love for that same thing to happen, with esports, and we're just seeing such huge numbers. And you watch this guy; he streams on Twitch, and that's streaming is him practicing, playing with other people, but he's so talented and so good at what he does that he's able to play at this insanely high level and remain calm and explain to people what he's doing, so people are learning from him. And his audience, he gets 25, 30,000 people concurrence every minute watching him play, which is more than most NBA teams get for their broadcast of their games. So it's a new world for us, and I think we're starting to just get into that first, second inning of it.
So Seagull, do you interact with your viewers, your folks? So tell us about that interaction and somebody that you communicate with that you think is sort of cool.
Well, one of the best parts about streaming online is, I stream on Twitch, and so essentially every viewer is in a giant chat room. So imagine having 20,000 people in a giant chat room, all spamming emotes and all these other crazy things. And then, on top of that, there are people might tip you, so you can talk to people that way as well. The community interaction is something that's definitely pretty special online. I don't think people normally get that level of interaction elsewhere.
No, I think the Cowboys have, on the football side, they let people I think slap the player's hand as they're walking through. It's a totally different thing, and I think it's one of the things about esports that people love is the interaction with the players. It's like a real thing.
So to that end, you're LeBron up here, my man.
Braun, the GOAT.
Seriously, but how does it feel? You went from playing video games, and I'm sure maybe you did dream this, but I'm gonna say I'm sure in a million years you didn't know you get this kind of attention. You seem grounded. I've talked to you and got to know you a little bit just today. How do you react to all this, and how does it feel?
It's pretty crazy. Just a couple of years ago, I was a student at Washington State University for computer science, and then Overwatch beta came out late 2015, and then my stream blew up on Twitch. I went from a few hundred viewers to around 6,000-7,000, and then I was like, wow, you can actually do this full time. And my dad was like, yeah, you should drop out. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So my parents were the ones who actually initially encouraged me. They're the ones who said take a semester off, and then if this blows up, then it'll blow up and you'll do really well. If it doesn't, it's like, cool, you only lost a semester. So, thinking back to those times, it's a crazy life.
That's cool. That's very cool.
So any kids that are watching, tell your parents Seagull said it's
okay.
It's okay, man. You guys should be down with that.
Exactly. So Andy, from your perspective, how do you find the next Seagull? How do you go about finding players?
Yeah, it depends on the game and the community. So it's early days. So there's so many people willing to help. So people are so passionate. If I'm into a fighting game like Smash, and I'll tweet out, hey, we're looking into Smash, I'll get hundreds of emails and DMs from people saying, have you thought of this guy? Have you learned about this guy? So you can find people, and it's different because like in Overwatch, we've been trying out to find a couple friends to play with him to round out his team, and they all play on the same platform, so we don't have to send scouts to China or the Dominican Republic. We can just watch what people play, call them up. Everybody wants to at least have some time with him. Say, hey, you want to scrim with Seagull? Check him out. So, but it'll get more sophisticated, right? The bigger money's moving in, analytics packages like we talked about, your own algorithms, trying to find the guy who's going to fit in. But when it's all said and done, they got to have the right personality. They got to have the right ability to play in front of all these folks and talk with them. And it's not like a professional basketball player. Like, I'll digress for a second, but if you look at a #1 pick in a first-round draft pick in the NBA, they're young, they're kids. They played for 1 year, they're 19 years old, right? But they've probably gone to 2 or 3 different high schools. They played on AAU teams since they were 9 years old. They've had coaches, they've had teammates, they've stayed in hotels, they've been in buses and dorm rooms. They've been in their mom's basement. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh, I got 20,000 people telling me I suck or I'm great. That's a lot of pressure for a 17-year-old, 18-year-old.
So we're looking forward to having you come to DC and doing a pop-up tournament as part of our sponsorship at some point.
Love to.
So talk about, to showcase your defensive skills, right? Which hero is your go-to?
It's either May or Hanzo. Probably May.
And give us a few attributes of.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Give us a few attributes of that. Yeah.
Well, it really comes down to, in a game like Overwatch, slowing down the enemy team as much as possible. And May is a character who can build walls in the map. So essentially you can change the map geometry to slow down and cut people off and that sort of thing.
Which is why it's great for Washington, D.C., because if you live in Washington, everyone's basically trying to you at one point or another, and so you got to put up some walls.
Speechless. I don't have another question after that. So I think for us, and we can actually suspend even esports or Washington for a second. I know, Seagull, can I call you Seagull? Is it Mr. Seagull? I can call you Brandon. This is your first time here. So tell everybody your impression, what you think about Austin and about South by.
Wasn't expecting it to be rainy and cold.
We weren't either.
I was from the Seattle area, and I'm like, am I really in Texas right now? Saying right, I don't know, it's pretty crazy. Coming here actually reminds me a lot of Seattle, downtown Seattle, especially this area right now. It's just a lot of passionate people. It's really awesome.
It's cool. And Andy, I'm assuming I haven't asked you, but this can't be your first time to South by. So
I've been here many times. A lot of tech companies. I actually had a company. A few years ago, we had a big old tent over there. We won Best in Show. It was probably one of my most exciting moments in my career, but I love it here. I stay here for the whole, all the weeks and do the music, do the movies, come back every year.
I had one serious question about technology. So, VR, AR, AI, talk to us about, you're speculating, but based on your experience, the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years. How are people going to consume matches in person, and how is that going to sort of change the experience?
Well, I think it is the future, and this will be the best viewing sport to try it out on. So we will see people at the arena. Like right now, you can project down. This is not great, if you're one of the rich guys in the lower seats, but a little ways up, you will see an Overwatch game where the whole map will be in front of you, and you'll see Seagull's guys moving here and Dumby's guys moving here, and you'll be able to see it in a sort of 3D vision from where you are. And I think that's going to be the way you view. That's going to be the playing field, as opposed to now where we got some big screens here and you can watch. And then when you're at home, we've already seen a number of startups come to us. If you want to test this out, we want this stream to be in 3D. If you have any type of VR glasses, you'll be able to, control your own angles, be your own producer, see it in 3D, get down into the map and watch the action just like you're on the field of a football field. I think it's going to be a tremendous experience.
Any questions for Greg or any questions for us?
Have you been to Washington, D.C.?
I've never been to Washington, D.C.
There you go.
We're ready for you, my man. You let us know when you're coming.
I'm excited. Let's go.
DC is
Take care
awesome.
of you.
What's your favorite food?
Ooh, I love me some spaghetti, man.
You love some spaghetti. All right. So we
got spaghetti.
We got spaghetti.
Right.
We'll make it happen.
Right. So, folks, we want to appreciate you guys being here. Please give a big round of applause for Seagull, for Andy Miller, and Max Brown here. So that concludes Event CC Live for today. Let's stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you all. Tomorrow, actually, same time, same bad channel, same bad time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.